right, so yesterday we did day 1. We talked about inductive reasoning. Today we're going to review a little reasoning, and then we're going to focus just on deductive reasoning. So, remember, let me make this bigger.
Thanks, Romeo.
Make this bigger. There we go. All right, so deductive reasoning uses facts, definitions, and rules. Facts, definitions, and rules to arrive at a conclusion. Okay? Inductive reasoning we did yesterday. Inductive reasoning uses what? Patterns and observations. Okay? So in part 1, we just focused on day 1 yesterday. We focused just on inductive reasoning. Today we're going to look at deductive reasoning. When you're using deductive reasoning, your conclusion that you reach will always be true. As long as you're using good definitions or rules or facts, then your conclusion will be true. Okay? All right, so number 1, we're going to use, or for example 1, we're going to write a conclusion about each statement based on the rule, fact, or definition presented. So in number 1, we're presented with the definition, acute angles are angles that measure between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So statement, measure of angle A equals 72. What can I conclude? What's an acute angle?
Angle A.
Angle A is an acute angle. You'll learn as we go through this unit, when you're asked to just give part of a sentence back or give a conclusion back, you have to be real specific. We can't just say it is a right angle, we don't know, or an acute angle. We don't know which angle we're talking about. Okay? All right, my second statement says we're still on the same definition. Acute angles are angles that measure between 0 and 90, but now my statement says the measure of angle B equals 100. What can I conclude?
Angle B is not.
Right, angle B is not acute. It's tempting sometimes to go ahead and classify and say measure of angle B is obtuse. But because my definition doesn't talk anything about obtuse, I can only talk about acute. And so I know that B is not between 0 and 90, so B is not acute. Angle B is not an acute angle. Questions on either of those? Okay. Then next. Number 2, an isosceles triangle has at least 2 congruent sides. My statement, the sides of triangle ABC, so whenever you want to name a triangle, it's always going to be the triangle symbol and then its 3 corners. The sides of triangle ABC measure 3 inches, 4 inches, and 5 inches. What can I conclude? Triangle ABC is not isosceles. Triangle ABC is not isosceles. In my brain, you know how you say Wednesday inside your brain to spell Wednesday? Or at least I do. I say Wednesday. When I do isosceles in my brain, I tell myself Isosceles. That's how I remember where to put the C. Isosceles. That's how I remember where to put the C. All right. Statement. The sides of triangle XYZ measure 12 centimeters, 15 centimeters, and 12 centimeters. What can I conclude? Triangle XYZ is isosceles. Isosceles. Okay? And the sides of triangle RAM measure 7 meters, 7 meters, and 7 meters.
Triangle RAM is an isosceles.
Yes. Triangle RAM is isosceles. Oh, RAM. Thank you. Okay. Now, when we get to our triangles and we start classifying them by their sides, it would be better. Do you know what it would be better to call this one if all three are the same?
Equilateral.
Equilateral. But it is, every equilateral is also isosceles. Okay? Alright, so now we're going to look at a rule. So remember facts, definitions, and rules. The rule at Disney World's Magic Kingdom is to ride the Tomorrowland Speedway. It has a height requirement of 54 inches to drive without supervision and 32 inches to drive with supervision. My statement is June is 5 feet tall. What can I conclude?
June is able to drive without supervision.
June is able to drive without supervision, right? Because how many inches is 5 feet? 5 feet is equal to 5 times 12. 60. Okay, so she's over 54 inches, so she can drive in the Tomorrowland Speedway without supervision. And who is she? She is June, can drive the Tomorrowland Speedway without supervision. Okay, questions on applying deductive reasoning? Okay, let's look at these last two examples and determine which are inductive and which are deductive. Number one, Leah learned that the definition of an angle bisector is a ray divides an angle into two halves equally. Leah was given a problem with an angle bisector, so she concluded she should set the two angles formed equal to each other. Inductive or deductive?
Deductive.
Deductive. What key word in my sentence tells me it's deductive?
Given.
No.
Angle bisector.
No.
Concluded.
Definition. Because deductive reasoning uses facts, definitions, and rules. She was given a definition and she used it. Right? She was given a definition and she used it. Alright. Winnie saw the following lists of shapes. Winnie conjectured the next two shapes would be these two. Did she use inductive or deductive?
Inductive.
Because she used a what?
Conjecture.
A conjecture. Well, yeah, conjecture. And it's a, somebody said, pattern. What is the pattern? How did she know it was two triangles?
6, 5, 4, 3.
Yeah, look at my sides. I've got 6 sides, 5 sides, 4 sides. So now I'm going to have 3 sides. And then look at my shading. I go unshaded, shaded, unshaded, shaded, unshaded, shaded, unshaded, shaded. Okay? Questions? Okay, tomorrow we're going to look at conditional statements. Those are kind of fun. We'll get to do a little bit of writing. And then today, your assessment over deductive reasoning, and there's a little inductive, is in Schoology.